Before a new child arrives, most people have this idyllic view of what it's going to look like. But when the baby finally does come, the last thing you're thinking about are tax strategies, education costs, and investing. That's because you're inundated with diapers, car seats, feeding times, and whether you'll ever have another night's sleep again in your life. But from a financial planning perspective, the first few years of a child's life can be incredibly important. Because when a child is young, time's on your side. And when time is on your side, small decisions can have meaningful benefits. I'm Benny Zanetti, certified financial planner in the Vancouver area, and today I want to talk about 3 different ways that you can invest in a child's future. The first one's obvious, the RESP, or Registered Education Savings Plan. For most families, this is the go-to way to save for a child's future, and the reasons are pretty simple. The RESP comes with generous government grants that are really hard to ignore. In most cases, when you contribute to an RSP, the government adds money to that account using the Canada Education Savings Grant. That's literally free money that goes towards the child's education in the future. And unlike a regular savings account, that money grows tax deferred. So later on, when the child's in school and they withdraw the money, they claim any taxes against their income, which probably is pretty low. Now, these advantages are pretty valuable, but it doesn't mean you should go crazy and dump a whole bunch of money into an RESP until you've taken care of yourself with stuff like emergency fund, your own RSP, paying off debt, that kind of stuff. But if all that's been taken care of and your goal is to save for education, the RESP is super valuable because it's one of the few places that the government actually gives you money for saving. And when a child's under 3 years old, it can really grow significantly. The second place you can save money for a child is a parent's unused TFSA room. I know this sounds very simple, but not everybody uses up all their TFSA room. And if you don't, it's a great way to save for your kid. You see, a child can't open up a TFSA until they're 19 years old. That's a long time for money to grow tax-free. So if there's already an RESP in place and a parent does have TFSA room, it's almost a no-brainer to put it in there rather than just a savings account. The key advantage is flexibility. If something were to happen along the way and you needed the money, you could always pull it out. It's your money. And if you decide to transfer it to your child when they're 19 years old, you can do that tax-free. The third option is one that doesn't get talked about a lot, and that's a child's whole life insurance policy. Now, I want to be careful when I say this because an insurance policy does not replace an RESP. It is definitely not the first priority for most families, but in the right situation, it can be an extremely powerful planning tool. One way to think about it is that it has TFSA-like characteristics, but with an insurance policy attached to it. Inside that policy, cash can grow on a tax-advantaged basis. And over a long period of time, especially if it started when the child is young, that advantage can be significant. So for families with a strong cash flow, it can provide yet another tax-efficient way to build long-term value for a child. There are a few reasons why families would consider this. First, it creates permanent life insurance coverage when a child is young and easy to insure. This can matter much more than most people realize. If the policy is issued when the child is a baby, any future changes in health do not affect the coverage. The same can be said about occupation. If the child grows up to be a race car driver or a first responder, careers that typically require higher premiums, the insurance company doesn't go back and reprice the premiums based on that career choice because that coverage was put in place when the child was young. Second, the policy can build significant cash value over time. That cash value can be used for education, first home, starting a business, or just part of a financial plan. Third, the person who owns the policy, the parent or the grandparent, decides when to transfer the ownership of that policy to the insured or the child. The policy does not have to be handed over to the child just because they've become an adult. If the parent or grandparent does not feel that the child is ready to responsibly manage the cash value or the policy, they are not obligated to make this transfer until they feel comfortable. You can probably imagine a scenario or two where this might make sense. The point is, the owner's in control. So as we can see, investing for a child isn't one-dimensional. The RESP is usually the starting point because of the grants and the education-focused tax advantages. If there's room, the parent's TFSA can provide another layer of tax-efficient growth with flexibility. And for those with significant cash flow, an insurance policy can offer a place to guarantee insurance and have a place to save money for the future. If you have a new child in your life and you'd like to discuss any of these ways of saving for the future, just go to my website and click on Book a Meeting. Thanks for listening.